What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is Thursday, so you know what that means. It is True Crime Thursdays. If you're new, hi, I'm Sydney. Every single Thursday, my microphone just fell. Okay, hopefully that doesn't happen again. Where was I at? If you're new here, hi, I'm Sydney. Every single Thursday I sit down and talk about the craziest true crime in each state, the one that stuck out to me the most. So if you like true crime, you should subscribe. You should join this family. I just need to say something personally because of a comment that was made on one of my previous videos. I 100% understand constructive criticism, I do. But the comment that was made was basically saying that I was lying and I know nothing about the case that I was reading. I understand that if y'all have done so much tremendous research for a year or two or however long on a certain case that I've done, I get it. I haven't had 100 years of experience in these cases. It's based off of the videos and the articles that I read that may differ from the videos and the articles that you read or watch. These are just the articles that I read and the videos that I watch, where I formed the case and the video around those. Understand that there are different articles and the internet isn't 100% on point with everything. We may not know every single detail about the case, and I will 100% admit I do not know every single detail about the case. I understand if you believe something different, I get it, but just be like, hey, this is where I read and here's this article, and I will 100% open to reading that and owning up to be like, okay, well this is what I read, I'm sorry, these just differ. So I just wanted to say that. I know that that was kind of long and I'm sorry. I love the feedback from these videos and seeing the views rise, and we've gained 40 subscribers from this series already, and I'm so thankful. So I appreciate y'all so much. Today is our last C, and then we will get to D, and then we're going, we're really rolling. So thank y'all so much for keeping up so far. We have a long way ahead. So today's video is about a murder, obviously. So buckle in and we will get started with the murder of Helle Kraft. Helle Nielsen was born on July 7th, 1947 in Denmark, and she was an only child. She was described as a very vibrant, outgoing child who loved school and just loved life. During her teen years, she learned many different languages. She could speak French and English, and she could also understand German, Norwegian, and Swedish. Helle attended college in England, and everybody said this girl was beautiful. She had long blonde hair, super high cheekbones, and a smile that was so striking it could stop any man in their tracks and just fell fall head over heels for her. Like, her appearance, her physical appearance was so beautiful. Helle got a job as a flight attendant in France, and she got to explore and travel to many different places from this job. The airways, Pan Am Airways, she applied for this position because they were looking for more flight attendants, and there were 200 applicants. She was chosen as one of the 8 people chosen out of the 200. All 8 candidates that were chosen for the job had to take training courses in Miami, Florida, so she moved from France to Florida. While living in Florida after the training courses, Helle lived in a motel with all the other pilots and flight attendants and everything while waiting on layovers, and there was some really good nights with a few of the male pilots. On May 24th, 1969, Helle met a guy named Richard Kraft while she was waiting on a flight at her hotel. Richard was a young male pilot, and he did not suit the typical pilot look. I don't really know what a pilot's supposed to look like, but he just didn't look like he should be a pilot at all. He was 5'8", kind of scruffy looking, kind of a medium to bigger build. Even though he was scruffy and kind of, thicker, he was very attractive. Richard was born on December 20th, 1937 in New York City, and he got to live a pretty wealthy lifestyle due to his father being a very successful businessman in Manhattan. His father was a pilot in World War I, and this kind of sparked an interest or an interest in Richard wanting to kind of be involved with aviation some ways. After Richard graduated high school, he decided that he was going to join the Marines, and this was around 1956. While in the military, Richard strived really well in aviation and was really successful at learning how to fly helicopters. In the late 50s to early 60s, Richard became a certified pilot and focused on fixed wing aircrafts, and that was like his specialty with his job. Richard flew with Air America, which was a organization basically for the CIA. He got to fly planes for, America's CIA, and he got to travel to many different countries because of this, but he decided to go back to America in 1966. So for about 10 years, he flew for the government and the military and everything like that. While he was back in America, he was chosen basically for any job, for any air job. No. He was chosen for basically any airplane job. If anybody needed a pilot, just like a quick pilot, it wasn't really employed with anybody. In 1968, he finally settled for the job in Eastern Airlines, which was the busiest and largest airline in America at that time. In 1969, when Richard met Helle at the hotel, he was engaged to somebody else, but Helle didn't mind at all. She was like, okay. They continued to see each other over and over the next few years, off and on. Helle's friends were super skeptical, being like, you can have any man that you want. Why are you chasing after this man? He's not that cute, and he's engaged. And she basically was just like, I don't care. I want him. She saw something in him that no one else saw. In 1975, Helle fell pregnant with Richard's child, so because of this, he decided to break off his engagement and proposed to Helle, and they got married that same year in November. In 1976, the newlyweds decided to purchase a home in Newtown, Connecticut. Helle had her first child, and she had 2 more over the following years. Helle decided to go back to work after having her 3rd child, and she hired a nanny named Dawn Thomas, who was about 19 years old, so she could take care of the children while she was working. Richard also was working a lot, and the two racked in a pretty good amount at that time for their salaries together. It was pretty good. They were pretty well off. Since the two were making really good money, Richard collected a complete army of guns and weapons. He was absolutely fascinated by them. He owned like several shotguns, dozens and dozens of handguns. He had crossbows, hand grenades, like all of it. He had a complete arsenal of weapons, and he had thousands of ammunition. He spent hours and hours and hours cleaning these guns, polishing them, and organizing them, and just making sure that they were clean and perfect, was just obsessed with guns. When it comes to their marriage, though, Richard was very abusive to Helle. She was often seen with bruises all over her face and her body, and her friends were just like, we kind of told you so. Helle stayed with him. Not entirely sure if it was because of the kids, it didn't really say, but Helle decided to stay with him even though he was very physically abusive to her. When each child was born, Richard actually packed his bags and left, leaving Helle to take care of the newborn babies all by herself and with absolutely no help. And I don't think anybody understands. I haven't had a child, I'm not sure, but from stories that I've heard, newborn babies, brand new, fresh out of the womb, newborn babies, they need 2 people really to take care of them. Y'all need to work as a team. So for him to pack up his bags and just leave as soon as the kids are born is shitty. So with the money that Richard made, he would buy the most randomest crap that he didn't even need, and he would make Helle use her money to take care of the house and the necessities and the bills and stuff like that. He would randomly buy landscaping equipment and just leave it in the yard. If he was using it and it broke, instead of buying equipment to fix it or whatever, he just let it be an eyesore to his neighbors. It just sat in the yard and started to rust over time. Richard started to drift off away from his job as a pilot, and he kind of became obsessed with the idea of being a cop. So Richard was just whenever he had his mind set on something, he became that is his main focus, and he would not sleep at night. He had to have exactly what that was. So he became obsessed with being a police officer. He got hired as an auxiliary police officer, which is basically like a volunteer one, and he didn't get paid for it, so he left this really good paying job as a pilot to be a volunteer police officer. He took this basically non-cop job too seriously. He would answer calls without being authorized to do so, and he would like hang out at the station whenever he was off duty just to, I don't know, be weird. In 1986, he was hired as a rural police officer in a nearby town, and he was only paid $7 an hour, which is significantly less than what he was making as a pilot. Being obsessed with his job, he bought the same car that the state police of Connecticut would use. It was a 1985 Ford Crown Victoria, and the state cops would had the exact same freaking car, and he would set it up basically the same way. He bought the sirens, the police lights, like all of it, the radios, the antennas, and he decked out this car as his own car as a cop, as just a local cop, not even a state cop. Like, he's so weird. This guy's weird. During the marriage, Richard had many different affairs, and Helle knew about this, but she didn't really do anything about it. Again, she was being physically abused. You never know in the situation. I know people are going to be like, why didn't she leave? Unless you're in the situation, you never know the real reason, and you're just, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it because I was in a situation like that too, but you don't know why you won't leave, but you won't leave, and this was probably her situation as well. I'm thinking mainly because of the kids, but that's just my theory. I don't exactly know. We don't exactly know. Helle finally opened up to her friends about how she was going to get a divorce, and she was planning on telling Richard about the divorce, and she was over it. She was fed up with all of the affairs and just everything. Helle was fed up. The lies, the affairs, the constant, unusual, weird spending on things that they didn't even need. She just never knew where he was because he would never tell her where he was going. He would just get up and leave. On November 18th, 1986, this is when Helle decided that she was finally going to tell Richard that she was done and she wanted a divorce. The next morning, Richard woke up the kids and the nanny and decided to hurry them up and get them out of the house because of the storm that had happened that night. It was around 6 a.m. and he took them to his sister's house and dropped them off saying that, hey, we don't have any power at the home. And they were like, well, where's Helle? I don't know. She said she was going to meet up with us later. She should be here soon, and decided to drop them off, and he left them in a hurry. After this incident, more days go by, and family and friends of Helle had not heard from her. Even her private investigator said that he hadn't heard from her. Many people said that this was not like Helle at all, that she wouldn't just up and leave and vanish. But thankfully, Helle had mentioned to her friends, if anything happens to me, please know and believe that it's not an accident. All of Helle's friends knew how quick-tempered and abusive that Richard was. They were very skeptical and started pointing the eyes on, all over Richard. They knew, he has done something to Helle. Over the following weeks, Richard's story of where Helle was changed numerous times. He would say that he didn't really know where she was. He would say that she traveled back to Denmark to visit her sick mother. The investigator that Helle had hired basically was pressuring police. He was like, something's up with Richard. Please do not slack off on Richard. He has done something to Helle. Finally, a missing persons report was filed about 2 weeks after she went missing, but it wasn't filed by Richard. It was filed by the investigator. The first person to be interviewed after this report came out was Dawn, who was the nanny. She explained the events of the morning after November 18th and basically said that it was really weird, and explained that the power went out, they were taken to the sister's house, and Helle did not show up, even though Richard had explained that she was going to be meeting them later. She also explained that whenever she would ask Richard where Helle was, he was very mean with his answers and gave a very firm, I don't know, and she just kind of thought that was off, but she never really questioned it. After he answered I don't know to her many times, that's when he finally decided to tell her, hey, she flew back to Denmark to see her mom. But if he knew the whole time, why would he reply I don't know for the first few times before telling her if she's been in Denmark the whole time? That's super sketch. Dawn went on to say that there were like weird, small, dark stains in the carpet in the bedroom, and whenever she asked Richard, like, what is that, he said that he had spilt kerosene. But, like, why the hell was there kerosene in the bedroom? Like, what do you need? Why were there so many spots? Why did you spill it so many times if it was actually kerosene? After Dawn's initial interview, there was a snowplower that decided to go up to police and kind of tell them something that had happened a few nights before. So on November 20th, probably around 3 a.m., he said that there was a U-Haul trailer with a wood chipper hitched onto the back of it. And whenever he drove by, he saw a man, and the man kind of motioned him to keep going. It was parked on the side of the road, and there was wood chips that were scattered around, so he didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't, like, weird. It was just at the time that this person was doing this was at the weird time. So a few days after this, police decided to investigate the area that the snowplower had explained that he saw this wood chipper. And, you know, they saw the wood chips, but they were absolutely horrified with what they saw besides wood chips. There were shards of metal, there were bits and pieces of shredded mail that was addressed to Helle. There were dozens of human bone shards, 2 human teeth, a tip of a finger, probably from the knuckle up, and 2,000 strands of blonde hair. There were also several traces of blood, and whenever it came back, it was the same blood type as Helle's. There was a tooth of one of the teeth found, and it had a crown, and that crown matched Helle's. Like, that was Helle's tooth with the crown on it. In the water, there was a lake that was right next to the area that they were searching. It was called Lake Zoar. There was a chainsaw found deep in the water, and the serial number had been filed off of it. It was as if because the serial number was filed off of it that, like, whoever did it didn't want them to trace back to whoever the owner was, and there was bits and pieces of skin into the teeth of the chainsaw chain, and hair, blonde hair, just tangled up in it. I can't, sorry, I just got, like, sick for a second. So, investigators soon believed that there was not going to be a body found with Helle, but they believed that this obviously was Helle's remains of a body. Because there was no body, police had to theorize what had happened to the moments leading up before her death, and what happened as to why all of the body parts were scattered around everywhere. Sorry, I'm like not having a good time with this right now. It's like making me sick to my stomach. The start of the theory was basically that Richard and Helle got into a fight after she decided to explain to him that she wanted a divorce, and this was the night of the storm that happened on November 18th, when Richard was presented with basically divorce papers or whatever. He snapped and he killed Helle in the bedroom. When looking at Richard's previous bank statements, they found a brand new purchased large freezer and a purchase of a rented wood chipper. Because of this, they believed that he stuffed Helle's body into the freezer, and that next morning the sun was coming up, he was freaking out. He took the children and the nanny over to his sister's house. So after he took them to his sister's house, he decided to come back and dismember her body with the chainsaw. After dismembering her body, he put all of those parts back into the freezer and decided to wait until that night as well. So whenever that night came to early morning, he basically had the wood chipper, he had her frozen body parts, and he was going to dismember them through the wood chipper. So with the wood chipper, he kind of had a reason. He said because of the storm, that he had limbs and trees falling into his yard. He had a chainsaw to cut up those trees, and he was getting the wood chipper so that he could basically like get rid of the limbs and everything out of his yard, so that way he could tell neighbors, hey, I have this wood chipper, there are some limbs in my yard because of this storm, that's why I have the wood chipper. The main doctor in this case, Dr. Henry Lee, was a huge part in this case, obviously. He decided, hey, we're going to test out the theory if the wood chipper was actually used into this. So, they bought a pig, and they took the pig's carcass and put it through the wood chipper to see if the dismemberment of the body was the same as what they found with Helle's, and the resemblance was striking. It was almost identical. Because of this led them to believe that this is exactly what happened to Helle. So Richard basically had the perfect crime, right? He had the wood chipper with the limbs. Because of the storm, he decided to say that Helle, because she wanted a divorce, she needed some time to herself, so she flew back to Denmark and visited her sick mom. This was just overall the perfect crime. But the plan did not work at all. On January 11th, 1987, a warrant for Richard's arrest was put out into the public, and they decided to go arrest him, and they put him into custody. Richard was booked and had a set bail of $750,000. Police entered the Kraft's home and found there was little spots of Helle's blood traced throughout the house. There was a blood smear on the base of the bed. And even though there was no body, the prosecutors decided they were going to push this case without a body present. They were wanting to convict Richard of this heinous crime, which was going to be really hard without a body. Because this case was so well known almost immediately, they had to move the trial from Newtown to New London, and the trial began in May of 1988. Numerous witnesses were brought on the stand during the trial, including Helle's mother, who said that even though Richard had said that Helle had been with her mom the whole time, she said that she hadn't seen Helle in months. So this kind of really struck the defense. Medical examiners went over how all the strands of hair, the blood, the bones, the teeth all belonged to Helle, which was also another really big hit to the defense. There were people that were able to restore the serial number on the chainsaw, and that linked back to a purchase in January of 1981, and they saw a receipt that Richard had, and the chainsaw belonged to Richard. The jury took about 2 weeks to come up with the verdict, and in July of 1988, after 100 witnesses and 650 pieces of evidence were brought into the court, and after the long 53-day trial, the jury decided they were hung up. It resulted in a mistrial. They didn't know if he was guilty or not at all. After every single piece of evidence pointed back to Richard, there were still people that believed that he didn't do this. Richard was 100% guilty, okay? That is fact. I know that this is fact. And they still believed he was innocent. During the second trial of September 1989, the same witnesses, the same evidence, the same exact trial happened a second time, and these jurors were actually smart. On November 21st, 1989, the jurors actually believed, hey, yeah, he's guilty, and they convicted him of guilty of first-degree murder for the death of his wife, Helle Kraft. This was the very first murder conviction without a body, and this was a big win for the prosecution. Richard was sentenced to only 50 years in prison. He had the possibility of parole. This happened in 1989, meaning his 50-year sentence should be up about 2039. However, due to good behavior, Richard is actually a free man right now. Richard was released in August of 2020, and he is in a housing facility. He was released 20 years early, and he is 82, and this man, this cold-blooded killer, is a free man. People with drug charges are in jail longer than this guy. I love America's criminal justice system. Although Richard is a free man, he still, to this day, denies any involvement with the death of his wife. I can't talk today, y'all. I'm gonna look back at this footage. I'm gonna hate myself. So, okay. What do I even say after that? I wish that there was really more to the story after, but it just makes me so mad that he's walking free right now. I mean, how do you get out 20 years early after murdering somebody because you were a good person in prison? Before I literally lose my shit, I want to thank you all for watching today's video. I know that I've gotten tongue-tied so many times today. I promise I'm gonna watch this footage. I promise I'm gonna watch this footage back, and I'm gonna hate every single second of it because I got tongue-tied 150 times today. So, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the feedback. If you want, subscribe. Please tell your friends, and be sure to check out my previous videos. I post every single Thursday. So, with that being said, I will see you guys next Thursday. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye!